Hey, what's up, guys? Aarava here, and welcome back to the Pitlane Podcast, episode number 125 today, to talk about the Belgian Grand Prix, some more fallout and kind of more detail about it, and then also preview the Italian Grand Prix, because it is a back-to-back GP scenario. Back with usual host, myself, Aarav, Callum, and Tom. Obviously, myself and Tom were on the instant race reaction. We kind of gave our thoughts straight there and then about the Belgian Grand Prix, but Callum was not there, unfortunately. So, Callum, do you want to tell us your thoughts about that GP? It was, like me and Tom agreed on, a very decent Belgian Grand Prix, actually.
Yeah, I still managed to catch it, and quite the I think it was a simmering banger. Like, it was a good race. I did quite enjoy watching it. Very good strategic battles. Obviously, it had a big cloud over the top of it with obviously the news from the day before with Hubert, and it did. Obviously, you two have already probably spoke about this. It did leave Sunday feeling slightly odd, not wrong, but just odd, and it felt quite bizarre and. Especially racing on the track, and obviously a lot of the drivers, including the race winner, it was in tribute to him, and I'm glad they did go racing. Obviously they did only cancel the F2 race, but I'm glad they did go ahead with the F1 and F3 race, because that's what he wanted. And I think it did give a race that he would have liked. It was really, really good strategically between Ferrari and Mercedes. It's dead mind-blowing at the minute for me, because I've grown up in the last, well, not grown up, but in the last, since 2014 to 2017, with Mercedes always being the car that's the fastest in a straight line, and this was such a bizarre race weekend for me, where it was Ferrari that are really good in a straight line, with their engine and their downforce package being very, very not draggy at all. But I did thoroughly enjoy it. I thoroughly enjoyed the midfield battle. I thought that was absolutely brilliant, with the likes of Albon, Kvyat coming through the field, Ricciardo trying to make his tyres last for pretty much the whole Grand Prix. And the little battle between Hamilton and Vettel as well. We still got a little bit of wheel-to-wheel racing at the front, which is what we always like to see. Didn't carry on the absolute bangers, but we had quite a lot of them in a row. So we was waiting for one that was quite simmering. A little bit salty that this race was better than the race that we attended last year, but we'll skip over that. But overall, still really enjoyed it, and very, very interesting in the battle between the Ferraris and the Mercedes.
Yeah, well, that's going to continue on into Italy, obviously. That's going to be very interesting to see. Obviously, Merck have already, or Toto Wolff's already said it is going to be very tough for them to really challenge. They think Hamilton said that they need to find that extra top speed before Monza, and Toto Wolff said in a different presser that obviously they can't find, 15 kph or whatever in 4 days. They can try their best to, really lower down the error, because that really is why the Ferrari's so quick. Is just honestly because that car doesn't have much downforce, so it's actually just very quick because of that very reason. So I guess Merck can try and strip away a lot of the aero for Monza, which every team will do, no doubt. But it's going to be tough for them, which is going to be kind of interesting, because I think last year Ferrari were very good, but over the V6 era, I guess, and even like the end of the V8 era, you never went to Monza and thought, Ferrari's going to turn up here for the home Grand Prix and be great. It's going to be awesome for the home crowd. It's always been kind of, this might be another year where they have to try their best and hope for some good luck, but it might be another pretty tough home Grand Prix for Ferrari. So it's going to be quite cool knowing that they as a team can go into this Grand Prix, and also the fans can go in, knowing that they have to be the strongest car on paper. So that'll be kind of cool.
I still wouldn't say they're going to be majorly strong. And they're right. I'm not going to completely write off Mercedes, because they are Mercedes, and too many times they're like, we're just not there. And they're like, even at Spa on Friday, they were like, we're dropping a second in sector one alone to the Ferraris, and then come race day, it's like, sorry, what? What? Where's that gone then? So ultimately, I think Sundays are a different story, because things do level out quite a bit. And again, we know that Ferrari can't use the engine mode they use on Saturday on Sunday. So again, that's another factor.
I think it's very safe. I think it's safe to say that probably Ferrari have pole already booked in. I think you can say that. Yeah, I think they're promising to be the race. Like, even last year, they got 1-2, but in the race they struggled with tyre blistering really badly, and also obviously Sebastian being out of the race early on put Raikkonen in a 2v1 situation versus Mercedes. So I think they've got to try and exercise their demons from last year and try and get top of the tyre issues. I think in the last race at Spa, Vettel a rare one from him, he actually struggled with tyres. He mentioned that he never really struggles with tyre wear at all. It's not been a problem of his all season. It's been more of a Leclerc issue, where towards the end of the race he fades. Yeah, and Leclerc mentioned that himself as well, yeah. So,
but it was actually Vettel this time, surprisingly, and they need to try and sort that out. But
I don't know. I mean, I don't think it was a surprise, though, to be honest. Do you, because Vettel pitched so much earlier and was pushing like a stabbed rat. Like
Yeah,
watching that race,
I genuinely thought it was a two-stopper for him.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Even before the radio message
we
happened.
thought that.
Yeah, I'm still confused by that.
It was very. Cal, did you think that? Did you think he was going to do a two-stop at the time?
Who, Vettel at the time?
Vettel. Yeah, when he was pumping in all those good lap times right at the start of that second stint. We thought genuinely, like, is he going to try two-stop? Because it looks like that's what he's doing.
I think Mercedes pulled the old trick on Ferrari. They've been rich 2 race weekends in a row now where they've kind of outsmarted the team that they're playing up against. Obviously not fully because they still left Leclerc out, but I think Mercedes were heavily dummying on the fact that they were pumping in some really good lap times of Hamilton on that first set of tyres, insinuating that they're going to be probably pitting. And then obviously Vettel pit, Hamilton was like, these tyres are actually quite good, can we stay out a bit longer? And Mercedes was like, aha, well, we want to stay out longer anyway, so this is good that you can maintain this pace and stay on these tyres for a bit longer. So Ferrari did shoot themselves in the foot with Vettel.
I actually disagree with that. I said to Aarav in the podcast, for once, Ferrari covered the undercut, which is something they don't do. They normally sacrifice one of their cars, or they forget. Like, I think Vettel was in prime position. We've seen it so many times this season with the second car. They just don't bother covering the undercut. So then, if Hamilton could have easily come in, they could have done the undercut in the Mercedes, and with one lap, he would have easily got him.
Here's a thought, though.
Easily. Go on.
You can't. Would you still say that Vettel's pit stop was successful, or his strategy was successful if he had to pit for another set of tyres? That's the one thing. I fully agree with you with the fact that well done for Ferrari for being proactive, but they're almost too proactive. They pitted him too early. They got dummied into something that they're not used to. So obviously they're a little bit behind sometimes with strategy, and they got dummied into something where they thought they could take the tyres to the end.
I think the oddest thing about it is the fact that he pitted that early and then pushed that hard, because it really just looked like a two-stop. If they were going to genuinely do the one-stop the entire time and they still wanted to pit early, then you just wouldn't have probably wanted to see Vettel pumping in all those times. Like, he gained like 5 seconds on
But
both
it's because of
Mercs.
Hamilton's lap time, wasn't it? Because obviously they were comparing his lap times, and I think Hamilton's 2 laps afterwards were quite competitive. And then that's when obviously he started to drop off, whereas then Vettel, obviously, Ferrari were like, right, you've got to hit this delta lap time to beat Hamilton out and not to stop them overcutting them.
Yeah.
See,
so
here's how I see it, and I said to Aarav, I think they were in a lose-lose situation, unfortunately, with as a team. They didn't have the race pace, and they had to sacrifice a car to win that race. And I think even Vettel knew that, because you could tell by the interviews after, he was quite happy to just play the team game, because even he knew as well. They were never going to get a 1-2 that race. It just wasn't going to happen. Mercedes were too quick. And, at the end of the day, downforce in the race is going to always beat...
Well, Sector 2, I mean, Sector 1 and Sector 3, Ferrari had them covered the entire race. But Sector 2 was just so powerful.
More tracks need to be like this.
Especially on the... especially when the tyre was kicking in, Sector 2 was just like, it swayed everything.
Yeah. I mean, historically, look at Red Bull the last 5 years, ultimately they're much better on Sunday because downforce is more important. You can keep up better. And I think Mercedes had the race pace, and Ferrari were in a lose-lose with Vettel because they couldn't undercut Leclerc to kind of stay in front. If they stay long, it's basically a lose-lose, because if they stay out long with Vettel, they risk getting undercut. If they go early like they did, then obviously you lose out in the long run. There was no way that race would have finished 1-2 for Ferrari, so they had to do it. And in my opinion, they got it spot on, like even Binotto said, because they achieved the goal. And that little bit that Vettel held up Hamilton was enough for Leclerc to win the race. It proved to be race critical. So they've got it spot on. It's an
interesting dynamic there, like in terms of like the way you say it was obviously Ferrari being clever like that. But I think at the time they obviously didn't. I didn't think they did it intentionally. I honestly think it just worked out like that.
I agree
because
with that.
I think the analysis from some pundits afterwards, like, this is actually quite shocking. The fact that you've got Sebastian Vettel, a 4-time world champion, has just played second fiddle to Leclerc and has just done a Barrichello job for Leclerc, and it's actually very surprising.
When was Ferrari's last 1-2 in the race?
Absolutely ages ago.
The last one that I could think of, and it's probably not this one, I want to say it's Monaco 2017. That's the last one that I can think of straight away.
And that is a little bit of a red herring because it's Monaco. You can't really overtake anyway.
Yeah. I want to say I would agree that I genuinely can't. I'm trying to look.
I don't think they have had a scenario. And I do find it quite interesting because I do like a fair play to Leclerc because his pace was brilliant, especially in that first stint, to just maintain that gap and to just maintain the gap with Hamilton towards the end. Like as he was just about doing enough, and I think obviously a little part of everyone kind of wanted to see what would happen if Hamilton had a couple of goes at Leclerc, because everyone did want Leclerc to get his maiden victory. Even I wanted to see that after such a torrid season of wins being robbed from him. It would have been interesting to see wheel to wheel, because I don't think Hamilton would have been able to pass Leclerc because of the straight line speed difference. But this is the beauty of Spa, and that's what I mentioned earlier. Like, we need more tracks like this where it favours.
I think the last time Ferrari had a 1-2 was in fact actually, correct year, it was Hungary 2017.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. That
yes,
was when Vettel had his one-sided steering wheel.
Yeah, when Raikkonen was, and there was, that was the race when Hamilton lost his radio, and he wondered why the Ferraris were going so slow. I think it was.
Yeah, I think overall, I agree in the sense that why would the four-time world champion play second fiddle? But this is where I've said Ferrari just shot themselves in the foot by just straight away confirming Vettel to be number one. I understand it's a logical thing to say because he's the more experienced driver, but you don't really have to go out and say it. You just kind of keep it on the down low.
You don't have to say it.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to say it.
You're not wrong.
But I think with the Ferrari as well, me personally, I'm very critical of them, but I genuinely can't fault them for Spa, because at the end of the day, it wasn't their race. I don't care what anyone says, it wasn't their race to win because they didn't have the pace. It's as simple as that. Vettel blocked Hamilton from getting the win. So for me, they play that right.
Here's a question for you then, lads. Obviously, it's looking like a slam dunk for Ferrari next weekend. Mostly, like probably 90% you would put qualifying, yes, and even in the race as well. I do think just because that middle sector is so beefy in Spa.
Yeah, the thing is, Monza doesn't have a sector 2 like Spa. It just doesn't.
Exactly.
Like the corners, they're corners, but they're like corners like Spa has in sector 1 and 3. Like there's some sharp ones where. Yeah, you can gain some time. Merc will gain some time, but I think if we look at the when we look at the qualifying comparison, when they do those videos where it's like side by side and they show a little graphic going up and down, Ferrari will just be absolutely stupidly gaining every single time you put the throttle down.
Easily.
Here's the thing: what was their demise last year? Not their straight line speed, exactly, and that can perfectly happen again. And even at Spa, it was weird because I read an article when they done the race sims on Friday. They were suffering on the soft tyre, and the medium was fantastic for Ferrari. But in the race, it was the other way around. The medium was really poor, and the soft tyre was actually quite good. Hence why they stayed quite competitive.
I was going to inquire was the fact that Monza's near Milan, isn't it, in Italy?
Yes.
As far as I'm aware. And there is rain forecast for both Friday and Sunday.
I've seen this.
Tasty.
So when we say
that it
rains, like a slam dunk Ferrari...
this is just Ferrari's like this season. When it's a clear win for them, it's always something. If
rain comes in, then it might can come back in.
I want a dry race personally because as a guy that wants Ferrari to win, and I want a close championship. If we can get a Ferrari 1-2, I'll take that because I want it to look not so much of a landslide in both championships. So I hope it, and I pray it stays dry. But knowing Ferrari's like it probably won't. And they could have had, besides Spa, they could have had 2 more race wins in Bahrain and Canada. And you'd fancy Monza as well.
I do find it mad that Vettel hasn't had a legitimate race victory in over a year now, which does blow my mind.
It's very
I
fitting
know Canada he
for him.
technically did win, but
it'd be nice if Monza was the one. I mean,
it would be, yeah.
Germany was almost the one. Like if he'd done Germany, that would have been unreal. But it would have been poetic justice. But if he could do it at Monza, that would be
quite
insane.
something. I think that would be quite something. Yeah,
you know what?
I really hope that does happen. It'd be a very good feel story. Very good feel story for him.
We had Leclerc with the good feel vibe in Belgium.
Exactly.
I think if Vettel could get that in Italy, because also Italy was also, you could argue, the start of Vettel's demise. I know people say Germany, but he did bounce back from Germany to win at Spa.
Yeah.
And then he crashed again at Monza. So you could say there maybe redemption for last year, but I just hope it stays dry. I don't care if it's a boring race. I just want to see at least 2 back-to-back wins from a non-Mercedes car, and then we go to like Singapore, which could be a Red Bull track. So again, Mercedes might be 3 races on the bounce without win, something like that. That's what you want.
You mentioned about Red Bull, and I would like to speak about Alex Albon, very briefly, because I'm a massive fan of him. I think that I'm so pleased that he had such a good race. To say that he had such an odd first stint where he made up. I remember looking at him in the timing sheets and I was like, why is he so low down? Like he's lap 20 and he was like 14th or something stupid like that. Like I was like, you're in a Red Bull. You don't do a Gasly on us. Like, please don't do this. And I was very, very pleased to see him come through and finish in 5th. A little asterisk, absolute heartbroken for Norris. Absolute. That is just McLaren. McLaren is definitely the most unreliable car this season. With that, ironically, to say that they've made so many more strides forward with Renault and making such a beast of a car these days. But I honestly, I think that was the perfect start to his Red Bull career, and hopefully we can see him on the podium before the end of the season.
Well, that's his target apparently. That's what the team have set out for him, to get one podium.
Which is more than what Gasly got.
It's interesting because Gasly was another example. Sorry, Albon. Jesus, whoops. Albon was another example of proving that the soft tyre was the better race tyre, because he was going nowhere on the medium. It just wasn't working. You could see he was even. I think he was overtaken by Ricardo at one point.
And he pit quite early for the soft as well, actually.
Yeah, he did. He pit like almost half race distance, and you could see he was just breezing through the field. Like, it was so easy. So again, proof that the Sunday the soft tyre was better, actually, the better race tyre. But yeah, overall, I thought he was phenomenal, to be honest. Really good job. Yeah. That overtake at turn 9 was saucy around the outside of Ricardo. That's what you want right there. That's why Gasly got dropped, and that's why he got.
It was his other moves as well. It was like, obviously the Perez one was ridiculously brave, to say that we've seen front wings fly off in that certain scenario.
Yeah, true.
And it was his move on, was it Kvyat, into whoever he overtook into the final bus stop chicane. Where he basically...
it was a Haas, I think. I think it was Magnussen.
Yeah, like he mugged him on the brakes. It might have been Grosjean or Magnussen. Absolutely mugged him on the brakes. And that reminded me a little bit of Ricciardo with those fresh tyres. He broke so late. I was like, how the fuck did he break that late? Yeah. It reminded me of Ricciardo. Like, and you fully expect the car just to go steaming on past the apex and going into the runoff, but somehow they get it slowed down. Something about that Red Bull that's brilliant.
Personally, I like the turn 9 one, because it was the only move of the race I think that wasn't on the straight. It was somewhere else.
At least into the bus stop, there's no DRS.
Yeah, true. It's just because you never see a move around the outside of 9. That's like even before like these dirty air machines, I can't think of a move around the outside.
I know Ricciardo was struggling on tyres, but even still ballsy to go clean around the outside, especially after being squeezed out of Rivage and then going, what? Yeah. I'll just squeeze it around the outside instead then.
Yeah.
So
McLaren, huh? I thought we said in the podcast, and Cal mentioned them, but like even though I've been reflecting on it, McLaren, they've really had a good season, haven't they? I know we're in the second half of the season now, but they've picked up where they left off. Like we mentioned it, poor quali, great race. Like Norris just kept his nose clean, and even the pace he was 20 seconds clear of the car behind.
It's safe to say they're comfortably going to get that best of the rest, I would say.
And like Cal said, the unreliability, how many points they've actually thrown away. Like they could be.
Well, yeah, we said this on our instant race reaction of just like, they're where they are with all these issues. So, I think also that I said this at the same time as well. Like, I think they should be taking that approach of just having a fast car and an unreliable car rather than a reliable shit car, basically.
Yeah.
I think this year, now, especially now where they're at with the points they've got to Toro Rosso, the next team, they can afford just to chuck everything on that car, try new things, push stuff that maybe shouldn't be pushed usually, and if it breaks, it breaks, because they can just get data basically of what's going to be better for them for next year as well, for next year's car.
And start working on next year as well, to be honest.
I'm sure they're already. I'm sure more than any team in midfield, they probably started very early on next year's car.
Because as well, even then, what's mad, like Toro Rosso, the next team, but they actually got a podium. Like, had they not got a podium, the gap would be like. It would be a
lot larger, yeah.
So, they've had a really good season.
On Toro Rosso, I think it only came out after the race was over, after Sunday, but Kvyat's celebrations of getting P7 from, what was it, P17 or 18 on the grid.
19.
It was a very good drive from Kvyat, to be fair. Very understated as well, because it didn't really see him much in the race. But the celebration for me, I think, told me a lot about the mentality that he's got in his mind. And actually you know what? He's probably actually not that peeved off he didn't get the Red Bull drive. I think he's in such a good mental space of just like, he's on his comeback, his career 2.0, like he said, at Germany. And he's just enjoying being a Formula 1 driver and doing a good job in the car he is in, which doing that from P18 to P7 is a freaking good job in a Toro Rosso. And I'm happy for him. And I think he's got the right mentality now at the end of the season to be like, then, okay, are there any teams that want me? Because I'm a bloody good driver still. You know, I can do bits for you, do the job for you. Come get me.
That's what I meant. Like, we spoke about it a few podcasts ago, and like you were saying, could he actually go in? And I was saying, like, no, I don't think he would go, because he knows he's in a good spot, and I think it's a good chance for him to really get that confidence in yourself as a driver, to really believe in yourself again after such a bad couple of years. And like I said, at the end of the season, you can kind of reevaluate and be like, okay, I think I can level this up, and I'll go somewhere. There'll probably be a seat somewhere. You could argue maybe Haas, Alfa Romeo. He could go Red Bull for next season. Not right now, because obviously Albon and whatnot. But let's say if Albon didn't perform, maybe with a clear, fresh mindset and a full winter, maybe then he could go into Red Bull. But for me, like I said to you, for me it was the right call. I'm happy he stayed at Toro Rosso, because it's a good environment for him, I think, to maximise his performance. And
it is.
Again, he was another one as well. Started on the medium, finished on the soft. It got really strong at the end.
Yeah, that was a strategy to be on, actually. Everyone that started soft really did not pay off.
The cream of the crop at the minute are rising to the top at the moment. And it's I've said this before, but like I'm thoroughly enjoying like the fact that there's so many good drivers on the grid at the moment. Like, I don't know. It is like one of the strongest grids that we've ever had.
I think it is. Yeah, it is one of the healthiest grids we've had.
If we drop why Perez has got 3 extra years at Racing Point, I really don't know. I know he's an all right driver, but
I think we said this on the race reaction. I think we did. But I might have just said it to Niren maybe like off the podcast. But it's just stability for them. I think it's just the case of for the first time in a long while they have money, so they just want 3 years of the same drivers, and then that's one less thing to worry about. And they could just continue to pump in this money they've never had before to try and improve this car.
To Racing Point for making the most of Spa, because they've always gone strong at Spa. I mean, it's the home of their first ever pole position. Pole position.
The spiritual home, pretty much.
Exactly, and I mean, fair play, because 6th is a really decent result for them, getting a good, decent amount of points ahead of the Toro Rossos, which is massive, ahead of the Renaults, and obviously snatching ahead of the McLarens as well. The fact that they were best of the rest of that race goes to show you've got to be in it to win it as well, and that's the only asterisk above McLaren. And
also, I want asterisk on best of the rest.
Yeah, exactly.
Asterisk, but
exactly. And also, what I wanted to very quickly bring up is the fact that the one thing that breaks my heart about McLaren is they're starting to get good a year and a bit before the new regs. Like, I think that's quite typical.
Yeah, it's
obviously that's not guaranteeing the fact that they'll have not guaranteeing saying they're not going to have a good car in 2021, but
I wouldn't worry too much.
Yeah.
I think
as a McLaren fan,
I'll give you a couple of examples. Like, it's not a problem historically. It seems 97 they were starting to get strong. They won a couple of races that year after such a miserable mid 90s, and then the 98 regs came in with the narrow cars, the groove tires, and all that kind of thing, and they were winning like they were champions that year. So also 2006, 2007, 2008 after the V10s, they moved to the V8s, and they just kept on getting stronger. When Hamilton came in. And they just won stuff, so I won't worry too much. Even 2014, like they were better in 2014. I think than 2013.
The engine regs won't change. That'll be all fine. I think aero-wise, I think for them, like it would have been an issue had they not been this strong this year. But I think they truly have turned the corner of solving whatever hole they were going down of like a concept or the way they worked or like the workflow in the factory. I think they've turned that corner now where they can now look at a reg change and actually tackle it well. Obviously, there is that tiny bit of like they can mess it up. We'll see, but I would at this stage now I'd be confident that they could still be exactly where they are. Basically, I don't think they'll. I find it tricky to see how any team here in this grid is going to make a huge leap. Honestly, I think there might be a little bit of shuffling at the top. I really hope so. But I don't see a kind of miracle leap from any of the midfield guys.
No 2009 vibe.
Yeah, no. But I would say now, having this half season, I would be kind of putting some money on McLaren pretty much staying put. Whereas at the start of the season, I still would have doubted quite a bit. But they've really shown they have turned that corner, really.
I think they've got a wind tunnel on the way as well for the next year. that'd be big for them, a new wind tunnel. And also, just generally, I actually think it's a good thing they're getting good now because it takes that pressure off, and they can, like we said before, they can focus on next year's car, and if next year's car, so they can focus on 2021. Like, it's a kind of a reciprocal thing. So
I mean, they've got a lot of sponsors on that car as well. To be fair, like, it is
exactly,
looking quite healthy.
I remember
before we start, obviously on the Monza predictions, there's two more things. Obviously, I've been away for a while. One about the Hulkenberg decision to drop him. Not surprised in the slightest, because
really,
no, just because he bottles under pressure. Like, Germany was his one opportunity, and he fucked it.
I said in my little reaction video that I think it's just also, I think Renault needs a fresh slate at this stage. Like, they've got, like, Hulkenberg's done a great job for them. Since they joined, they went from 9th place to 4th place in Constructors.
Yep.
He's been a great little worker for them. But now I feel like with Ricciardo here, there needs to be another new clean slate, like they did with Hulkenberg. Yeah, like when they brought Hulkenberg in first for 9th. There needs to be a new clean slate from 4th upwards for a new springboard of energy.
Exactly.
Of Ocon and Ricciardo,
and I'm
basically.
delighted for Ocon because he did deserve a seat. I'd be really, really annoyed if he wasn't on the grid next year. And again, that adds to my point that there is another strong driver on the grid. I'd like Hulkenberg to go to the likes of Haas. I do see him slipping into Haas, I'm not going to lie. Grosjean leaving.
It could be Alpha as well.
If hasn't Raikkonen got a contract for next year?
No, but Gio is the one that might get dropped.
Well,
because Alpha's got money now. They're not Sauber. They don't need a driver that brings in money. And even then, the Ferrari link's there, but it's not like it's not a Haas. It's not.
Yeah.
It's
the
not
thing is as well, I don't think Giovinazzi helped his case by putting it in the wall on the very last lap of the Grand Prix.
That's what I said.
Like, come on now.
That's
you do
one
every
of
lap of the
where,
Grand Prix weekend, but not the last one.
Literally, when it comes to the end of the season or like near the end, and you're kind of valuing drivers, and you're like, okay, what's he done this year? And Gio's only got 1 or 2 points to his name. That could have been a good chance, like I said to Arif, to double his points tally pretty much.
Yeah.
He was comfortable 9th, no one in front, no one behind. He had no pressure at all, and he was like, that's such a bad mistake to make when you've had such a poor season for lack of points, and you've had such a good driver, some cracking overtakes as well. He did some fantastic moves. That's like a massive strike. Really, really poor from Gio, and that could cost him. It genuinely could.
Yeah.
I think I'll be shocked if Hulkenberg isn't on the grid next year. I'll be genuinely shocked because Grosjean and Gio have been too poor.
I think Grosjean will be happy to bow out though, because he says he's happy to move into something else. Then again, though, what's Kubica saying?
Well, I think ultimately he completely backs the Williams team at the minute with his sponsor.
He's ultimately backing up the rear of the grid as well.
Listen, you need someone to fill that gap. What can we say?
And that's also the other thing I wanted to bring up. Fair play to Williams, because data-wise and percentage-wise, they've caught up massively this season. They've actually caught up so much.
Fair play to them, because
they were so last. And they've really caught up. So fair play to the guys and gals at Williams, because I think they've done a stellar job so far just to catch up that much already.
The error update they did
half of a season.
Absolute bits.
I just hope that what they said is true. They said this car's a good base. Dare I say? I think they even mentioned like they might even just use this car to build upon for next year's one.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think that's very smart from them. It's less work. It's less money, less work for them, so they can save more money for the regulation change year.
Exactly.
With the asterisk being, let's hope that actually is true and this car is a good base to build upon, because we've seen before where teams are like, we're losing downforce, but we don't know what the hell's causing it.
But the thing is, though, this car has been so bad, and this car, at the very start of the season, was so low that they have so much to gain that even if the car isn't actually a good baseline, I think they'd still gain enough next year for you not to notice it.
Yeah, for sure. But then again, also on the topic of Kubica, who would go in there? I mean, let's be honest. Even then, we're running out of.
Well, that's the thing for Kubica. He brings the money, and also the car is still going to be just as bad. So putting Hulkenberg in, it's not going to do anything really for that car.
I mean, if we think
to be honest,
F2,
in my opinion, he's a good driver, and he does bring in a big fat amount of sponsor money for a team of Williams, which you could argue does kind of need it because they've not had that much, funding recently, and losing Martini was a big blow. And also, as we saw in Hungary, he has got a big fan base, and that's always healthy for F1. It's always good to have as many fans as possible engaged with the sport.
That's the thing that I found that bizarre, that how slow he was and everything. But there are certain drivers like Latifi.
Yeah, again, but like Latifi's like, would that excite you anymore?
Well, he outpaced Kubica in the practice session.
It wouldn't make me care anymore. I still know because I still know Russell's going to win.
I'd like to see Nick De Vries on the grid. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, he's 24.
I don't know where he'd go.
Well, Kubica came back on the grid at the age of what?
Yeah, but it's different because
bearing in mind Kubica has got
CV.
that little hair. He looks about 40.
My dad said this the other day. Listen, at the end of the day, Kubica, right? The fact is, he has a CV, and he brings in a bit of money, and he's a name, and that's just.
Yeah,
fact.
I agree. I agree with you, but I just don't want someone.
Also,
that
it's
slow on
like
the grid.
I feel like with Tom, like it's Williams. Like it actually just doesn't matter. Actually, like basically, you can chop Williams off the grid. Basically, in terms of when we're talking about driver lineups for next year, just chop them off. In terms of where Hulkenberg's going, it's either Haas or Alpha. That's it.
Or an outside shot of Red Bull, apparently. If Albon wasn't to perform, and Horner said they're looking elsewhere for options.
They always say
Horner's also said in a very different interview that they're looking at literally their 3 driver pool for the driver.
Yeah.
I know, but
So he said. So there's very contrasting interviews out there.
The way they've been the last 12 months with their chopping and changing, Red Bull and Toro Rosso combined, I believe it more now than I ever would. In the sense that it could happen.
At the start of the season, was it the start of the season that Alonso's been linked to that?
Alonso's linked. Monaco, Hulkenberg was
I
linked.
think it's just silly season rumours. I don't think Red Bull have got the balls to be like, yeah, our own driver program is not strong enough, so we're going to go and get a driver outside the driver program. I don't think they've got the balls. I don't think they've got.
Really?
I don't think it's not even Red Bull. I think it's Helmut Marko would not be able to sit
I don't
there.
think they need to. They don't need someone to challenge Verstappen. They just need someone to do better, to do well enough to be a second man to him. That's all they need.
That's what we think, but I genuinely believe I think they want someone to challenge Verstappen, and they're not going to get that. Hence, why they're going to look elsewhere.
But what's the logic in that? I honestly do not see the logic in that from them.
No, neither do I. But I'm just saying.
I do not think they're thinking like that at all.
They've burnt through their entire roster, hoping to find someone that can lay a glove on Verstappen. I'm hoping Albon is that one because there's no one left. Then I have to call up Yuri Vips or something from F3. Otherwise, or Patricia Ward. So I'm hoping Albon does the job. But ultimately, they've burnt their roster, trying to find someone who is half the driver Verstappen is, which is rare.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
A bit of perspective maybe for them. They need a little bit of perspective.
Well, let's talk about Monza predictions then. Let's go for pole position then, lads.
Si, senor.
I think, it's going to be a red car, isn't it? So which one, lads?
Leclerc.
Well, I'm going to go for Kimi Raikkonen, actually.
That's maroon, mate. That's maroon.
Right, listen here, sunshine.
It's maroon. It's maroon. I'm on the team. I would know. It's maroon.
No, that's scarlet.
Look, let's not get into technicalities of the digital postcode of the colour in Photoshop.
Hashtag F024AG.
Yeah. Okay, go for your poll.
Leclerc.
Leclerc.
There's the good feeling vibe, and then there's just the logical one.
Right, so pick one.
Vettel.
All right, I'm going to go for Leclerc. I think he's shown he's now picked it up a bit finally in Ferrari. Right, race then. Top 5. What are we saying?
We've only a 25% chance of rain at the moment.
Well, we could do a top 6 as there's not Gasly anymore.
That's true.
Could be an outsider.
No, but we've always done top 5 for a reason though, because it chops out that one we won't do as well. So top 5, let's go.
Leclerc, Vettel, they're going to get 1-2. If it's dry, yeah, there'll be a 1-2, I think. And then we'll put Hamilton on the podium, Bottas, and then I don't think the Red Bull's going to do very well. So then Verstappen, Albon.
If it rains, Hamilton wins. But if it's dry,
25% chance. So I'm going to sway no.
Vettel, Leclerc, Lewis. Bottas. I was going to go Verstappen there, but I just think they're gonna lack a little bit of straight line speed. Then again, Verstappen was running a used engine at Spa, or Red Bull were as a whole, I think.
Verstappen was. Albon had a new one.
Right. Okay. Now I'll go Bottas 4. I just get the cars too quick. Verstappen P5.
Yep. Unfortunately, when Monza's dry, it's not actually a very interesting race. So I'm gonna go with Leclerc on pole. I think he'll probably, if he gets pole, he'll seal it through for the win. So, but I want Vettel to win. So I'm gonna go Vettel, Leclerc, Hamilton, Bottas, Verstappen. It's just going to be a very dull race. Let's be real. If it's dry, it is just going to be a dull race.
But let's do the rest of the top 10.
Because I think Red Bull, I think Verstappen should get out of the same spec engine that Albon got. And so therefore, I think the Red Bulls actually be okay enough to be in no man's land. So I don't think anyone will actually touch them.
Yeah, it just depends if Bottas has a really bad day, like a really bad.
Yeah. If he has maybe
Verstappen
then
and Bottas battled last year at Monza. They were like when I think Verstappen pinched Bottas.
Yeah, so maybe Verstappen get him if Bottas has a bad day.
That's what I was thinking about. Like maybe shift, like split them around, but bearded Bottas 2.0 could turn up. You never know.
Yeah,
so
fucking hell, that's an old meme. That lasted a grand total of what, 2 races?
Yeah, good stuff.
4 or 5 races. I'm gonna say 6th to 10th because I feel like the top 5 is quite predictable.
Okay.
And I think the midfield battle could be interesting because there's a few cars there. Racing Point, McLaren, Alpha's home race. Even Renault, they were speedy up until Sunday. Really quick. So, unfortunately, Alex Albon gets P6. And I'm going to give a double McLaren.
You're giving them high hopes to say they're not very good in the straight line.
They are, though. That's the thing. That's their strength. They're kind of like Ferrari. They're
in quali, they're going to be so far back.
I'm gonna
because they weren't good in a straight line in quali.
Listen,
in Spa.
This ain't qualifying prediction. This is a race prediction.
Yeah, but in the race they also weren't that quick. You do realise that as well in the race.
Yeah, but Norris
for some reason they lost actually a lot. Like I was saying this to Niran, like they compromised. It looked like they compromised their setup so much because Spa was like one of the first race weekends where they weren't top of the speed traps for most of the time.
Yeah, but as you mentioned before, Monza isn't so sector 2 heavy with corners, so they won't have to sacrifice. Anyway, this is my prediction. So McLaren 7th and 8th, and then I'm gonna put Kimi 9th, and I'll stick a Racing Point with Checo in 10th.
All right.
I'll do Kvyat 7th, Sainz 8th. I'll put a Sainz up there, then Perez and Kimi.
I'll go with I said 6th Albon. I'll go with 7th. I'll go with Perez. 8th place, Sainz. 9th, I will go with... I'll go with Ricciardo, actually. And then 10th place, I'll go... Well, let's say Raikkonen gets one little measly point, I think.
It's quite hard to predict because you don't know what McLaren are going to be like. You don't know what Renault are really going to be like.
I think the Toro Rossos will struggle at Monza. Because
that's why it's a more interesting prediction.
I think they got saved a little bit by the race chaos and also the fact they could catch a little bit up in Sector 2.
See, that's what I find bizarre is that how Norris did so well because they weren't that good. It's just the fact that he.
Well, no, for Norris, honestly, it was really just his turn one. I think personally, I
out of the way.
I think he just got saved by the fact of how that race panned out for everyone else.
He was still 20 seconds clear of Perez when he retired. He was 20 seconds ahead of him.
Yeah, but that's because Perez was fighting that entire race, though. Like Perez at one point was like 14th, along with Stroll.
Yeah,
so he had to fight all the way up there. I think I think McLaren got very it was really sad to see him fail like that, but I think take some perspective. They got very lucky to even be up there. I don't think they genuinely had the pace. Like you saw it from quali, they just weren't there. Like their speed was just gone for some reason that race. I really hope they don't. They hope they fix it because over the summer, just I don't know what happened or the setup at Spa. They just weren't a bullet anymore in a straight line, which is like one of the key features and that made that car good this year. So it's
because of the livery. That's why they went to black.
Yeah, the extra black paint.
That's what it was.
The extra black paint weighed them down.
Yeah,
that was it.
That's what it was.
So that has been our predictions then for the Italian Grand Prix and our little preview for that and the talk about Belgium. So we'll see you guys next time. Maybe not straight away on Tuesday or like Wednesday next week, but maybe on the Thursday, I think, because the F1 Esports Pro Series is running on Tuesday and Wednesday, so I might be occupied with that. But eventually there will be a podcast for the Italian Grand Prix, but obviously there'll be the instant race reaction on Sunday, so you can look forward to that. So guys, if you did enjoy this one, then be sure to hit that like button. Let us know what you thought in the comments below about anything we talked about. If you're new around here, do subscribe to this channel for the podcast. Check out these two Twitter handles on screen the entire time. We're obviously on audio, on Spotify, SoundCloud, and what else am I forgetting? iTunes? Is that a thing? No.
Oh yeah, that is a thing. 5-star rating.
No,
please.
I got confused because iTunes isn't actually. They got rid of iTunes, but it's still Apple Podcast. So I meant that Apple Podcast.
It is late, Arav. I'll let you off. We are recording this at 10 past.
It is, yeah. It's late. All right.
past,
It's
half
been a
past
long day.
11.
It's been a long day. If you do want to support us directly, you can check us out on Patreon as well. There's a link in the description. Or if you want to get yourself a racing chair or something like that, you can check out GT Omega and use the code PitlaneF1 at checkout. But that's been the Pitlane Podcast then for Previewing Italy. We'll see you guys for the instant race reaction on Sunday. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week and enjoy the race on Sunday. Hopefully it's not too boring, but might be if it's not going to rain. But till then, guys, hope you enjoy the rest of the day. Goodbye.